All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Off Script on Purpose, Albanian American Women Carving Their Own Path, hosted by SAPS. My name is Clea Met, and I currently serve as the event coordinator for SAPS. I've been a part of SAPS for a little over a year now, and I recently got my master's in biomedical sciences at Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ray. I'm very excited to join Clea, our guest speakers, and then all of you in attendance to moderate this discussion today. My name is Ray. I serve as the Vice President and the College Mentorship Initiative Lead for SAPS. This event is brought by SAPS and is part of our ongoing initiative where we aim to spotlight Albanian American voices across various disciplines. Today, we're diving into what it means to rewrite the expectations that are placed upon us and lead with identity, purpose, and perseverance. But before we delve deeper into this topic, I want to use the first couple of minutes to introduce everyone to the organization behind this webinar, our mission, our vision, what we're trying to accomplish, and then who we are. So SAPS stands for Shoqata, Akademike dhe Profesionale Shqiptare. Our mission is to foster academic excellence and professional advancement for Albanians in the States and in the diaspora. We envision a platform where high school students get connected with college students, but college students get connected with professionals. We try to accomplish this mission through two main initiatives, our high school mentorship initiative and our college mentorship initiative. And last year, we accomplished this goal through our high school mentorship initiative, which offered personalized mentorship, comprehensive guidance, and community building. We had mentees from 11 US states that represented 21 US high schools. Also, mentees from high schools overseas in Albania and Kosovo, around 9 high schools. 45 mentors from 20 US states that represented 33 institutions here as colleges. After our in-person event, we had an opportunity to connect with a lot of professionals. And one of the questions that arose after that event was, how can we bridge the gap between students and professionals within the Albanian American community? And we thought that the best way to do this is through a webinar series. This webinar series will serve as group networking. It will have discussions that are centered around unique themes such as law, medicine, engineering, academia, finance, journalism, and much more. But it will also offer students an opportunity to not only learn from stories of successful professionals and students in the US, but also build their profile and be more involved with their community.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize the team that's behind making all of this possible. Our established webinar team is filled with new and pre-existing SAPS members who are interested in organizing and building this initiative from the ground up as mentors. We have leadership across various industries that will each cover webinars ranging from medicine and policy to engineering. A big thank you to Dafina, Adem, Eralda, Irena, and Diana for giving their time and energy to facilitate direct mentorship opportunities. And we are all excited to experience your upcoming webinars. So this conversation is centered around the theme of going off script, resisting the pressure to follow a pre-written plan and instead carving your own. Our speakers today represent three distinct paths in science, tech, and the arts, but share a common commitment to authenticity and impact. What we want to convey is three main messages: why this topic matters now, uplifting women who are forging their own path in their respective fields, and setting the tone for discussion. But before I do that, and before we go to our speakers, I want to ask you, the audience, what does leadership look like to you, not just in title, but in everyday action and intention?
This is supposed to be icebreakers. I don't want everyone to feel anyone want to participate, or we can go Eralda, yeah?
Yeah, I'm a bit talkative, so I apologize in advance. But honestly, leadership is a really common word that is used very, very frequently. Sometimes it's just a title. I know a lot of leaders who behold this title, but um, let's say, the tasks of the leader. But in everyday action and intention, being a leader is so much more. It's, it's let's say it's a vast definition of being a leader. I would actually love to hear from our guests more, considering that they are very established leaders in their own criteria. I would love to hear their thoughts on what does a leader mean, because in my opinion, I have very mixed and ambiguous definitions of being a leader, but I would love to hear your in thought, each one of you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
sure.
Go ahead, Leah.
I was just going to say that they will definitely be able to share their stories as well as how leadership looks like. And it's a little bit different, not just leadership in terms of the title, but as well as how they execute those skills and those um, responsibilities as leaders in their own field. Anyone else?
Yeah, I was going to say adaptability. I think we're all of us here. I know some of you guys, and I know we all are leaders in our own fields, in our own ways, in some capacity. Every single, I'd say woman, but we have some guys here. So I would say adaptability. You have to be able to adapt if you're a leader, right? Whether that's who you're working with or whatever it is you're working on, like things change. Everybody has their own like sort of box or way that they want things done. But in order to be a leader, you're working with people. You're not having people work for you necessarily. So you have to be adaptable to circumstances, to schedules and things like that. So adaptability, I would say, is like a key word for leadership for me.
And I know Dr. Pasha, you wanted to say a few things.
Yes, thank you, Ray. You can call me Mirjeta, so no worries for that. But regarding leadership, actually, this is a great question, and I really like that you put this out for discussion, because we also had a little bit of this discussion when we were talking about the panel. Because so always when I think about leadership, or at least for the word leader, most of the time I've thought about it as just a title, but then if I think a little bit more about it, then you can think about leadership as something that everyone does in their own life. For instance, you can think about leadership like leading a small project, or even kindergarten kids where when they're leading, I don't know, a game. And then in academia, I started thinking a little bit about this. How does leadership looks? And of course, it can be a title, but not necessarily. And for me, as a professor, leadership means, can I have, or can I build my own path where with that path being somehow successful, people will be influenced and probably inspired. So this is what really means to me, to have some leadership role. So not necessarily like having, I don't know, a title associated with that kind of leadership. So, and then even more, when I think about, let's say, how do I lead? I think, how many students, for instance, have I influenced, or how many women have I influenced, or how have I helped any students, for instance, to go from being an undergrad student to deciding to go to grad school, or even further, if they are in grad school, how successful were they if they applied for a grant, or if they applied for a job position. So all these small tasks, when we build our own path, we help others. Those can, if we make some impact, those can make us leaders without, I mean, not necessarily having that title, but we are leading with our good intentions, basically. So that's what leadership means for me.
Dr. Pasha, thank you so much. You shared a little snippet of what leadership means to you, and I'm excited to hear more about your experience and your story. So I just wanted to share. So here's how today will flow. So we'll start with each guest sharing their story, what they did to get to where they are, and reflecting on what leadership is like to them, similar to how Mirjeta started this. So not just in title, but in everyday action and intention.
Thank you. And then someone left a comment, Afrodita, I think how you pronounce it. I think curious is a vital trait as a leader. And I absolutely agree. Curiosity will it's such a great trait to have because it can lead to a lot of things like you wanting to help people. If you're not curious and you're not taking action, you'll never do things outside of your comfort zone. But I want to transition and introduce our first guest speaker. And I know you didn't want us to call Dr. Pasha, but I'm going to call it because you deserve it, because I know how difficult it is to get a PhD, the work that you put. So I think you deserve to get recognized. So today we're going to first be joined by Dr. Mirjeta Pasha. She's an assistant professor at Virginia Tech. She received her PhD in applied mathematics at Kent State University, and she's been a postdoctoral scholar at Arizona State. Before joining Virginia Tech, Dr. Pasha was a National Science Foundation postdoctoral fellow at Tufts University as well as MIT. Her research interests, and you'll have to excuse me pronouncing this, are on high dimensional tensor data analysis, regularization for inverse problems, uncertainty quantifications, and machine learning. So that's a mouthful. So I hope, Dr. Pasha, you get a chance to share a little bit of insight about, your journey. Tell us a little bit about, not only what led you to study mathematics and pursue a PhD, but how's your research uh, affecting your day-to-day life. The floor is yours. After you do your opening remarks, we have a few guided questions that we'll ask you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ray. Actually, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you so much for inviting me and being so I could get this opportunity to be part of this panel. It really means a lot. So I've given so many technical questions to conferences and other places, but this is somehow unusual to talk about like the journey in general and how I ended up having a PhD in mathematics and do the job that I'm doing nowadays. But I also want to thank you so much for the time that all your society puts together for organizing such events to keep our community together. So I know, for instance, I've been a student and also now as a professor. Time is really something that we really struggle to find, and I really appreciate you finding this time to make these events happen. So thank you so much. So to go into my my journey, so my journey started from in Albania. So basically, I grew up. I was born and I grew up in Albania in a small village until I was 18 in the south of Albania in Tepelena, and then I moved to Tirana to study math and computer science at the Faculty of Natural Sciences at the University of Tirana. And this was back in 2009. So I was really deciding what I wanted to do, and I really loved math, but I also loved computer science, and there was this new degree in math and computer science, and so I went for that. So there were a lot of challenges also in deciding studying mathematics, and also coming from a very small place where I grew up and going to the capital of Albania. So it was kind of a cultural shock, and I have been through these cultural shocks for many times, and probably I'll go through this very quickly. So once I graduated, so I didn't know that I would be successful. And then there is a way how you define being successful. For instance, when you are a student, especially in Albania, your grades define how successful you are. So until after the first year, I showed that, okay, I was doing well, and then I was getting a hang of it, basically. So I started to love math, and then I was very focused, so I never knew that I wanted to become a professor. So I knew that I loved math and I loved studying. And even today, for instance, when I finished my master's and my PhD and I finished all my trainings, at some point I was worried, like, okay, what am I going to do now? Like, how does the learning process will look like for me? Because I really love to learn new things and then be kind of a student the whole time. And I think the path that I have followed fits me well because it wants me to be updated with all the changes and everything in the field. So once I graduated with an undergrad degree, then I continued, which was kind of the regular path. So I went for a master's in computer science and mathematics, and also I graduated with again with very good results there. And then I had offers basically to become a university professor. So I first well, when I was in master's, I had this idea that I always loved to teach people math and computer science, but I didn't know how, in what setting you would do that, right? So, and then I didn't know how you would become a university professor and all this. So I started teaching in different private centers, just teaching mathematics for fun, basically. And then at some point, when I was close to graduating with my master's degree, I asked a professor. She was a dean in the university in Durrës, and I told her, I really want to teach. Can you please give me a class to teach at your university? And she was like, you don't have a degree yet, so we don't know how to, we cannot really give you a class to teach. But then I don't know how she made it happen, basically. So I started to teach there a class, but I was still 21 years old. And then kind of, I don't know, they felt like I looked so young. So I went in front of the class, and then students started making fun of me. And then one student asked, I have a question. And then I said, okay, so you are kind of worried what kind of question they are going to ask. And he was like, what was your age when you started school that you are teaching us now? So, so it was like yeah, so I started to figure out like, okay, what it meant.
It's like an icebreaker, a question icebreaker.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it helped me. It helped, and then yeah, it was an icebreaker basically. So yeah, thank you, Aralda. So and then after that, after that I graduated. I mean, this happened only for one semester, and then I went. I applied after that, so I had some experience. I knew what it means to be a university professor, and then I applied for a tenure track, or they call it pedagogy branch in Albanian. So I applied for that. They had this position at Polytechnic University of Tirana. I applied for that, and then I was successful. To my surprise, to be honest, because I always had this idea. I don't know anyone, so I'm not sure if anyone would really hire me, basically. But then they offered me the job, and I was so happy. And then in the same year, I got the answer, like the same year that I graduated and then started to teach in Durrës. I got the answer, or the result that I got the American lottery. So I was so excited because I was always up for an adventure, no matter what it took, like how hard it was, or how hard I worked, for instance, to become a professor in Albania. And my family was not happy at all, but I was okay. I was like, I want to try and I want to see, because I always dreamed of continuing my education and also having for instance, following a PhD somewhere else, but I had no information at all how I could do that. So basically, I moved to the US. We came first in 2015, and then it was not for studying. It was just basically to get the green card. And then wherever I went, we stayed there for 2 months. I didn't really like what the American life looked like. And I was like, okay, if this is America, then I'm not for this. So if I would stay in America, I would stay only if I would study. So I went back. I taught for another year at the university in Tirana. And then I came back. So the next cycle I applied for a PhD, and then I only applied at Kent State, actually. So I was accepted there with a full scholarship. And then I decided to go there. So there were a lot of challenges. I don't know how fast or how slow I am supposed to go here. But when I started my PhD, I was also pregnant when I came to the US. So I came with a family, and my daughter was 3 months old, basically, when I started my PhD. So it's been quite a journey. But I think if you love the journey and if you love what you're doing, then you never think about like the difficulties that you are having in this journey. And then I followed, so basically I graduated with a PhD after 3.5 years. And then took a postdoctoral fellowship at Arizona State University. And then I had a lot of challenges because this postdoc was during the pandemic. So I had to rethink what I wanted to do. There were so many options. So I could go to industry, I could go teach, or I could do research. And that was exactly the time where I knew what I wanted to do. Because I mean, I had also some experience teaching and getting some other type of positions when I was a PhD. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But in order to do what I wanted to do, which was find a job at an R1 university and have your own research group and be a leader in your field, basically, that required to do a lot of training, a postdoctoral training. And in order to do this postdoctoral training, somehow you have to move from one place to another. So having a family with you and moving from one place to another, it's kind of challenging. So this was one of the big challenges basically for me. But at that time, I also figured out that yes, I want to work at an R1 university and have my own lab. But the question was, how do you do it? And there are so many technical things, for instance, in the field itself, where you have to publish a lot, where you have to get grants. And my chance was that I could apply for a grant, and if I would get that grant, then that would give me a lot of freedom, but it was very competitive. And that was the National Science Foundation postdoctoral fellow, which actually I see it as a life changer and also a career changer for me, because that gave me the financial support that I could go at any university that I wanted to perform the job. And that connected me with a lot of leaders in the field that gave me a lot of other opportunities later on. So I could arrive in the position that I'm today.
Yeah, I think Dr. Pasha, like when we thought about this title, Off Script on Purpose, it's kind of interesting how your life story almost like signifies it, like off script. You've always been off script. Like you landed a position teaching and then you won the lottery to go to the US, which is like unexpected, but it's always like the idea in mind. Academia has always followed you. And I wanted to ask just one guided question because we're gonna come back after every guest speaker has had a chance to kind of share their story. I wanted to ask you specifically, you mentioned academia and you studied mathematics and you pursued that as an opportunity. My mom has taught for a long time, 20 years, ranging from elementary, middle school, high school. What specifically in academia you think like interested you, and do you believe that by teaching you can impact students' life, or is it more so like you find personal fulfillment from teaching? Could you just spend the next 2 or 3 minutes talking about that?
Sure. So this is a great question. It's a great question in the sense that my opinion, for instance, or what makes sense to me and why I love being in academia have changed. For instance, when I was in Albania, I told you earlier that I really love to teach. So I wanted to teach people really the mathematics, like how things work. And I would be like, oh, this is pretty easy. You can do it like this and like that. So that was something that I really loved when I was in Albania. But that changed when I came to the US. And there is the difference between doing research and teaching. So in Albania, I was only I was only teaching, so I had no idea about research. And then when I moved to the US, I noticed that, yes, you can do teaching and you can influence the life of other people, but you can also do more. And I really love that part, that you can do more. And that thing of doing more is doing research in a specific area. So I didn't talk earlier about what kind of research do I do, but I work on solving very large scale problems that have a lot of impact in industry in general, or even in medicine. And I will give one quick example. So for instance, every one of us goes to the doctor, and probably, or one of our relatives have been to a doctor, for instance, to take a CT scan for some part of the body, if some bone is broken, or if you want to see if there are some issues in your body. And behind those scanners, there are a lot of algorithms, and there is a lot of math going on. So all the technological developments are actually led by mathematics, and this is what drives my everyday work, basically, and my research work. So in terms of scanners, so how do I connect, or what do I do exactly? For instance, if you we know that, for instance, if there, I will take a simple example. So if there is a patient and that patient is diagnosed with some tumor, and then there are a lot of questions. So how would some treatment follow, or if the result that you get from some X-ray imaging that you have gotten are correct or not. And not only this, but probably patients have to go through at different time steps. They have to go through these machines, and we know that X-rays are harmful for the body. So the goal would be that you could still scan and see inside the body of a patient, but with reducing the number of X-rays that go through this body. Because sometimes, I mean, even those new techniques, for instance, as guided imaging surgery, and many other new technological advancements, they have behind mathematics. So basically you can think about the interior of this object as a puzzle, and you collect some data. So if the data is not complete, then you will not be able to reconstruct, for instance, the interior of a brain. And I mean, those that are in the medical field, for instance, they know that the shape of the tumor would tell if this is a good tumor or if it's not. I mean, I don't know exactly the terms how you would classify it. So this is really powerful and empowered by mathematics behind it, because it's really like some shape. We modeled this some piecewise constant reconstruction behind some smooth background, because you would have like the normal cells, and then the tumor would be some piecewise constant function that you can describe that. So all this work is what got my attention, basically. And of course, it requires a lot more investment in time and a lot more learning, but this is what I really love. So from the love for teaching and mathematics, now it has been transformed to this: how can I contribute not only to teaching the next generation of scientists or mathematicians or engineers, but can I contribute into the science itself? And probably I mean, this is a big question. Like, is my contribution immediate? No, I know for sure it's not going to be immediate. It will take time, that those scanners are going to take our latest algorithms and so on. But I know for sure that what we are working on and what I'm working on will be used hopefully in the future, and then the impact that I have working with students will be valuable at some future time. So it had, like, my interest in mathematics have shifted, but the goal is the same: have some impact and use my knowledge and love for mathematics and computer science to do something hopefully good for the society.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pasha, for sharing your journey and your insights.
Thank you.
I do want to go next now to Tringa Ibrahimi. Tringa is a teenage tech entrepreneur and founder of Miket. With over 7 years in the tech world, Tringa leads initiatives that empower women in ICT in Kosovo. Her journey spans global research experiences, including an internship at Harvard Medical School. Tringa is the founder of Miket, which is a digital platform that fosters communication among girls and also functions as an NGO, organizing hackathons, internships, conferences, and more. This fall, she begins her undergraduate studies at Georgia Tech, continuing her mission to redefine what's possible for young women in tech and entrepreneurship. Tringa, the floor is yours. I'd love to hear about your journey, your passion. I mean, just at a young age, you have so much experience and so much leadership.
Thank you so much, Clea, for this wonderful description. And I gotta say thank you, Dr. Pasha, for all the inspiring stories. I was truly inspired, and I loved hearing about your resilience and all of the research that you are doing. So in this short story that I'm going to tell right now, I'm going to mention some of my biggest failures and how I got back from these kind of failures. So currently, I live in Kosovo and I live in Pristina now. But when I was younger, I lived in prison. And if we witnessed a Tringa that was in prison, you would have never imagined that I would be involved in technology. I used to do everything else but technology. I didn't even know how to start a computer. I did go to karate, music, basketball, and everything, just nothing in technology. But when I got in, yes, Janie, of course. But when I got in sixth grade, I transferred to a school in Pristina, and I traveled 1 year and a half from prison to Pristina each day, which was one of the best times of my life. And when I moved to Pristina at seventh grade, I joined this programming course at digital school, which I think was the moment that my life turned like 360 degrees. Because at the time when I met with technology, I was astonished by the idea that you can be a creator and be an innovator just by clicking some buttons in a keyboard and using your mouse. So from that moment on, I knew that I was going to be involved in technology. So everything that I have done this past years, I sort of like said, okay, I have done what I've done until now with all of the sports and music and stuff, and now it's time to be determined and use all my skills in this field. So I remember my first game that I have developed, because when I was in the programming course, I was the only girl in that school. So I know that I was in the future, I'm going to do something to create a platform or take initiatives to include more girls in the field of technology, but we are going to talk more in details about MiCat later on this story. And the first game that I built was Plants vs. Zombies, because I was in love with that game. And when I had finished that game using only Scratch, so it wasn't even a coding programming language, it was like a platform that you use just blocks to create like simple games. And when I used that, I felt like literally in love with technology. And then I joined some other hackathons and stuff like that. And when I got into high school, in 10th grade, I had the first job as a programmer, and I used to work in 3 different companies during my high school journey. And I also opened a coding club and chess club when I was in high school. So in a way, opening these 2 clubs sort of paved my leadership skills, because when you have like a club in high school, you have more place to make mistakes, because when you go out into like the real world, you have less space. But when you are in high school, you can like explore more and see how people work. And especially since we are teenagers and we are also working with teenagers, it was like learning some of the biggest challenges that you are going to face in the real world, but with having more space for mistakes. And while I was learning the leadership skills on the clubs, and the other way, I was learning the technical stuff when I was in work. So I was simultaneously paving 2 of the skills. And I decided parents compare. No, I'm actually going to my parents right now, because right when I finished high school, I decided to take a gap year and leave the work at the same time. So when I told this information to my parents, they probably wondered or started thinking that I was doing some drug or something, but they should have believed in me, and they did, because my father had this thing that even if he knew I was making a mistake, he sort of let me do this mistake and learn from all the things that I'd done. And I didn't like judge them, because I know that parents have the best interest at heart for their children. And when they found out that I'm going to leave work and take a gap year from university, they sort of became worried about me, especially because when I took this gap year and I left work, I started MiCat and another like social media agency. This social media agency was just sort of to not be a burden to my parents while I create MiCat and some other projects that I wanted to work on. And that is when I saw the difference between making something because you only have to do it and making something because you love to do it. Because of the first 6 months after doing this big decision of my life, I did nothing but mistakes. Like, I don't know, every day I made different mistakes, but each mistake was a new lesson to me. But during the 6 first months of this decision, I kind of lost my purpose because I didn't know, I didn't make a very good plan on how to do the things that I wanted to do. And when you have a lot of opportunities in your plate, you don't know which one you can take first. So I ended up like taking all of them and just wanted to clone Tringa in each of these opportunities. So I ended up just burning out. And when it came time to apply to universities, because I took this gap year because I wanted to make a better application for universities, because I value education as one of the best things and experience that a person can have. But when it came time to apply, this is where I made the other mistake. And maybe, I don't know if this was the best thing that happened to me or the worst thing, because I applied to all the schools last minute and I got rejected to all of them. I actually got waitlisted at Columbia. And when I told my parents, like, no, they just wanted me to send some other essays, I'm probably gonna get in. But of course, I got rejected again. But this was like the whole turning point for me. I said, this year, this gap year was the year that I made mistakes. And I told my parents that I'm going to take another gap year. And by the time, I'm sure my parents, especially my mom, was like freaking out. She was telling me about the daughters of her colleagues, saying, oh, she went to this high school or she went to this university, to encourage me to join university in Kosovo. But I was truly determined to go to universities in the United States specifically, and to those that I wanted to. So I decided to try again. But at first I had to do something about the project that I had already started. So that was when Miket had like that big jump, because we organized the one hackathon, Miket and Wisdom. So we collaborated with another club at a university here in Kosovo, and we got sponsored by the biggest companies here in Kosovo, and made a really good hackathon. And the best part about that is that we created opportunities for other girls. But by creating opportunities for other girls, I created also opportunities for myself, because getting in contact with these kind of people and important people in your sector, which one it is like a very good thing. The networking in your field is the one thing that is going to maybe put you in another scale. So I would recommend all of you to join conferences and join events that will get you in contact with this kind of people, because for me, at least, it was one of the biggest like treasures in my life. Because from this hackathon, actually, if I hadn't maybe done this hackathon, I wouldn't even gotten the Harvard internship, or I wouldn't even met SAPS, so I wouldn't be here right now. Because one of the reasons that I got into the universities that I got in right now is because of SAPS. But when we are talking about Miket, I want to point out that when you're starting an initiative or whatever project that you are going to start, just focus more on the impact that you want to make rather than the progress. Because I think that after you make that impact that you want to make, the progress and everything else will come along with it, as long as the purpose is good. Because as I said, when I started Miket and the digital agency, I was seeing the difference between them, because with Miket, it was going more smoothly and better because the point was better. But at the digital agency, I just sort of make it so I could like not be a burden to my parents and stuff like that. So of course it went not as I expected. But right after I got rejected from the universities, I also joined the hackathon, and we started a new product. With one of my friends, which is called Futuel. It's a smart bin that separates food automatically using artificial intelligence, and then converts food waste into electricity. And with this product, we joined a hackathon, but we lost. And I had all of this rejection and all of this failure in such a short time, and that there was like this sort of I need to give up, but another voice in my head was saying I should be more resilient and keep going. So with that product, we tried again in another hackathon, And I think from the techathon, everything started to go great. I don't know what happened, but like some sort of switch happened. And from the day, everything started to go better. I also featured in the Classicity. I made all of the new events with MiCat, had new clients with the social media agency, because we got all of these networks, all of these contacts, and everything went better from that. But what I wanna you to gain from the story of mine, because as you saw, I had a lot of setbacks and a lot of failures. But the first thing is to be humble, because when I made all the other applications late, that was because I sort of overestimated myself and underestimated the universities, actually the application process. So don't ever do that, no matter what you do. Be as humble with yourself and just accept who you are. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to make mistakes, because each mistake is a new lesson and something new that you will learn in your life. So yes, this is pretty much it. If you want like more details in one of the stories or one of the activities that I'm doing, I will be more than happy to share more details about that.
Tringa, thank you so much. Just through SAPS and through other organizations, you have truly been inspiring. Now, I don't think to everyone else, but also to me. I do have a question though. So I know that um, you've been involved with SAPS and you've been kind of on the receiving end. You were a mentee for the high school mentorship program, but I think that with your experience and your story now, you'll be on the giving end. So the roles will be a little bit reversed. You'll be the mentor now moving forward. But what role has mentorship and cultural pride played in pushing through? I know you mentioned that you've had a couple failures, so how has that pushed through for you?
Yeah. So I also wanted to mention this. Thank you, Clea, for reminding me this, because when during this 6 months that I was doing all of these mistakes, and one very big mistake was that I was uh, I have too much pride and too much ego to ask for help or to ask for assistance. I wanted to do everything independently. I don't know if that was like a cultural thing or something inside of me, but I just didn't want to ask for other people like help. I don't know if I was ashamed. I'm not sure what was that something in me that didn't allow me to ask for questions. But when I got the first like mentorship, and when I tried to ask people more questions and ask for assistance, like everything changed. So mentorship, I think, is one of the core things in your career that you should take very seriously, and you should never be either afraid or either ashamed to ask questions or ask for help, because everything will be more than happy no matter who you ask. At the end of the day, we are all the same people. We do the same stuff. We go to sleep, we wake up. So don't ever like be afraid or ashamed to ask for help. And yes, mentorship has been a very big role in my life, especially when I joined SAPS. I had, as I mentioned, always Elira as my mentor, but at the same time, when I was at Harvard internship with Renusha, these two were one of two people who helped me very big, and I'm very, very, very thankful to them.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Claire. And I wanted to ask one more question just because of the chat and for interest of time, Tringa, because I know I wanted everyone who's listening, who's maybe not here, but is going to watch this recording later. This is a very good question. Um, do you when I grew up in Albania, because I also grew up in Albania, I played sports, like I did a lot of things, but coding was one thing that I never thought about as a hobby, or I didn't even know it existed. So we have a question, like, do you have any course or resource recommendations for those that are looking to learn a little bit about tech and coding, more specifically those who grow up like in the diaspora, like in Albania and Kosovo, where things might not be available? Like, where can they start? Let's say, for example, I'm Tringa, like 10 years ago, and I wanted to like learn about coding or tech, like where would I go?
Like, you're asking more specifically for in Kosovo or for outside, like in...
And any if you want to do both, one, however you want to answer.
Yeah. So in Kosovo right now there are a lot of like programming courses and programming schools. So you just have to like choose which one you fit in the most. But from what I saw, I would recommend maybe J-Coders, Digital School. There is Cactus, and there are a lot of like very good programming courses that you can join. But even online, you can just go on YouTube and just search one of the like concepts that you want to go. But I think it would be best to start with maybe W3 schools, like they learn it in a very good way, and they have like simple tasks that you can do. You can go on there and even try some of the tasks they wanna like test you. But after that, you have like a lot of online coding um, courses that are free on YouTube. Like I wouldn't suggest starting by paying courses because there are a lot of free resources out there. So I would mainly suggest that you go on YouTube and maybe like learn some of the basics of coding and technology in its core. So there is this platform that is called Kodu. You learn the basics of coding and like playing some sort of game. So you learn about algorithms, loops, conditions, and stuff like that. Not with coding, but by playing some games through code blocks. So there are just blocks that you have to put together, and you learn like the basis of coding in there. And then after you like learn the logic after programming, maybe you can go on YouTube and see where you can write code and have to run the code that you are writing.
Thank you so much, and thanks for sharing your story and your insights.
Of course.
Last but not least, we have Bora Cecia, a multimedia journalism student at Loyola University in Chicago. Bora is the host of So Sporty and co-creator of the Journal for Change. At Loyola, she blends storytelling with science, producing media that makes complex ideas accessible. Her work as an editor, journalist, and humanitarian voice reflects a commitment to storytelling that informs and empowers. Bora, I'll allow you the opportunity to share your story and experiences as an Albanian woman pursuing a career in journalism and highlight your passion for education as well as your interest for sports. I know you have a cool story as well.
Thank you so much, Clea. Thank you so much, Ray, and everybody at SAPS for putting this together. It's truly such an exciting opportunity. And before I start, I want to say congratulations on all your amazing work to both Tringa and Dr. Pasha. Hearing your stories is so inspiring, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And I can't wait to see all the amazing things you both will do in the future. So to talk a little bit about myself, I am a multimedia journalism student here at Loyola University Chicago. However, I would like to go from the very beginning to kind of make sense of my journey. I grew up in Tirana, Albania, and that's where I was born. That's where I was raised up until I was 10 years old. And that was when my family and I immigrated to the US. It was 2014. It was obviously like it was very like a really interesting time. Moving to a different country, even though we've been to the US before, it was just so different. I didn't know how to speak English. I was really trying to kind of acclimate to the new school environment. We moved to Northern Virginia at first. That's where I lived up until I finished high school. Throughout elementary, middle school, high school, it was a period of growth for me, trying to discover what I liked, trying to discover my group of people. And it wasn't up until college where I kind of decided to head into journalism. When I was in high school, I actually was thinking of pursuing political science and law in the future because I just really loved AP government. I loved all the classes that had to do with global politics and writing and just sharing important stories. But at first, I didn't realize that that was journalism in a way. So I decided to go into political science in college. I started and I realized really quickly the first day of university that I didn't like it. My sister actually called me the first day and said, well, how do you like university? How's it going? And I said, I hate it. I don't like my major at all. And she's like, well, it's the first day. Maybe you need to give it a try. I'm like, no, I just don't think this is it. Like, I just knew that wasn't what I wanted to pursue. However, I said, you know what? I'll figure something else out. And my sister suggested journalism, which was so weird because I was like, journalism, okay, I'll see what that's like. And I looked at my school's curriculum of the journalism project program that they had, and it was amazing. I was really excited to see all those courses and was excited to take them. So went to my advisor the first day of school and I was like, I would like to change my major. And he was like, well, that was really quick. Like, it's the first day, but sure, we can do that. So I switched over to the School of Communication, where I pursue now my degree in multimedia journalism with a concentration in electronic and broadcast news. And right now I'm a junior, so finishing up my junior year, and I absolutely love it. I love journalism. I love sharing stories. And one thing that I really wanted to discover, of course, is what type of journalism, because journalism is huge. You can go into politics, you can go into environmental, you can go into sports. So that was kind of a period where I wanted to discover what was that going to be like for me. However, now that I've been in university for the past 3 years, I didn't want to limit myself into just one field. And so I decided to say yes to every opportunity and take as many courses in different fields of journalism as possible, even if I didn't really have an interest in it, because at the end of the day, I still learned something valuable, whether that was a new skill, a new technique, a new idea, a new story. So I decided to really immerse myself, which is kind of where my idea with editing scientific stories came about. Of course, it's a little weird because STEM isn't really my thing personally. However, I've really enjoyed being an editor for the neuroscience department because it has truly allowed me to take on a new challenge. And I've learned so much about neuroscience through editing all these articles and getting them published. I'm also a student journalist for my school. I've been part of the program for the past 2 years now. I love writing stories about the school community and just bridging that gap between the audience and the students and spotlighting inspiring stories of students. And then as some of you guys may know, I love sports. I talk about it all the time. And the way that I kind of decided in a way to kind of focus on the sports route is really interesting because I kind of grew up on it, but I didn't realize it until I actually started journalism in college. So my dad, loves soccer, like loves it. He watches every single match. He's a huge fan, and he actually played for Tirana. He was an athlete back in the day. He was a goalkeeper. And then after an injury, he decided to work more with the staff and the federation. He was the president for some time. So for him, it was always such a huge part of his life. And even when we moved to the US, he always watches. I always remember him watching the game. So I would join him in once every couple of games, but I wasn't as much into it as my dad. However, as I grew older, it kind of became our bonding experience. So I think that's actually a really great question. I would like to say Barcelona because I'm a huge fan. So hopefully that's the case. But yeah, let me know who you would like to win as well. I would love to hear from you. And yeah, so it just kind of started as a bonding experience. And I really thought about it like, wait, I can actually do sports journalism. I can talk about sports because I read about it all the time. I watch the games literally every day as much time as I have. So I decided to focus on sports journalism a little bit more outside of school. So I started a podcast for fun because one thing about me is that I really like to take initiative. Sometimes you don't really get the opportunity right away and you have to wait, well, oh, maybe this position will open up. Oh, I didn't get this position. I didn't get this internship. But for me, it was like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to do something for myself. I want to take some sort of initiative and get a project out there that I create. So that is how my podcast came about. And I love talking about sports on there. I love making content on my social media about it and just connect with an audience, as well as I love humanitarian journalism. So that's going into the other side of journalism that I'm trying to explore, which is where the Journal for Change came about. My best friend from high school, we love volunteering. We always volunteered together when we were in high school. However, when I moved to Chicago for college and she's at GW, obviously the distance is quite far. So we decided to create an online humanitarian journal journal, which is how the Journal for Change was created. We love sharing resources on there and just really talk about community service. Community service has always been so important to me, especially with my journey with pageantry and how I've worked with different organizations to just help students, to help children out there to get resources and really focus on education. That's always been something really important to me. I think education is an important tool to not only grow as a professional, but also discover what you want to do. So that has been a big mission with the journal. We've had the opportunity to collaborate with SAPS before and other organizations. So it has been truly a really important project to me and my journey.
Thank you so much, Bora, for sharing your story and your insights. I do have a question for you. So I know that you have worked as a sideline reporter. I think that's really cool, especially with your experience in journalism and then your passion for sports as well. So highlighting the sports media, what challenges have you faced as a young woman and how do you create a space for your voice?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question, Clea. And that is obviously a huge, big thing in sports media. It's the underrepresentation sometimes, you know, and Aaron, yes, I agree. Yeah, it's really a place that's very male dominated. I actually assisted in matchday media in Tringa. That was a really good response, but we appreciate it. Yeah, I actually assisted with matchday media operations last season in 2024 for the Major League Soccer club Chicago Fire FC. And it was such an amazing experience for me to really be immersed in the sports industry. I was able to, you know, just be there at the press conferences, get interviews, right, and just be where the action is. And it was honestly a lot of walking and a lot of standing, but it was really, really such an amazing experience that truly allowed me to understand that I love this. I love sports and I want to do this. And this obviously it also kind of introduced me to the lack of women in the space. Obviously it's very male dominated and I saw it firsthand while I was working, but also it's kind of like it's like a known fact in a lot of different sports industries. So I don't know, I think for me I've had a lot of inspiring women that I've looked up to on social media, reporters that have really just been a huge role model and idols for me. And I said, you know what, that doesn't really matter if it's male dominated, if it's not male dominated. If this is something that I enjoy doing and I'm passionate about it, why not? And if I can only inspire just one person, like those idols have inspired me, I'm more than happy. And I want to really just do this for myself, of course, because I love it, but also to really show young girls that they can do it too. If they want to be part of this industry, they're more than welcomed. And that is really like a huge inspiring thing for me. And this is why I do what I do with a lot of passion. And I'm really excited to hopefully continue doing that in the future to show that to young girls.
That's amazing. I mean, I wish you all the best. And I know that you'll always have us rooting for you wherever you end up choosing, wherever you end up going as well.
Thank you so much, Leah. I appreciate it.
Of course. So we've had three speakers, three different fields, and that come from different backgrounds and experiences. I do want to open the floor and give the audience, you guys, a chance to ask any questions, whether it was something that the speakers shared, something you thought about while they were telling their stories. We do want you guys to be part of the conversation, and you can either put it in the chat or you can raise your hand and we can call on you.
There is one question here. I will read it out loud. It's from Aaron. I have a question for Dr. Pasha and Tringa. My name is Aaron Tochai, and I recently graduated from Johns Hopkins University with a degree in biophysics. I'm pursuing a career in medicine, but I'm very interested in eventually applying AI to medical research and healthcare. I currently do not have much experience in AI or machine learning. What advice would you give to someone like me who's looking to build skills and break into this intersection? So I'm not sure who wants to start first, but
Dr. Pasha, do you want to start first?
Fine, Tringa, you can go first. Yeah, please.
Okay. So what I would suggest is just because yes, this is a wonderful idea because this is like the future, the application of AI in medicine will be one of like the main things that will be going on in the future. What I would suggest is just mainly focus on understanding how machine learning works in its core. It's very easy to understand, like how it mainly works, and then gradually go and take like some maybe free courses, online courses to understand some of the libraries maybe that you can use in programming. But I would mainly focus on understanding like the whole logic behind machine learning, because then to do what you want to do will be more easy if you understand like the basics of it, and maybe just learn some of the basics of coding as well, because when you want to like build machine learning models, then you have to code them. So that will be my advice.
Yeah, I think what Tringa said is a great advice. So what it's not much that I can add, but I think yeah, having the logic how really things work is really important. This is one thing. The other thing that I would say is try to connect with experts in the field and see what are they doing and what are really the skills that are needed, for instance, because I mean there is too much information out there and you can learn and that is great, but of course your time is limited, and then you also want to make some other progress on the direction that you have chosen to go into. So just be very strategic. I think would be probably the right the right approach. So be strategic, talk to people, and see what is needed in that field. So something that I know currently what is really trending in putting together, for instance, medicine and AI, is this idea of building digital twins. I don't know if you are aware of this. So this idea of building digital twins is really cool, and as the word suggests, is you build or you simulate a computer model or in your computer basically that runs a lot of codes and a lot of mathematics and optimization over it. But the idea is can you predict before something before it happens? And this can be used a lot in decision making, for instance, in medicine. So even though I do not work exactly in digital twins, but I work on different aspects of digital twins, such as quantifying uncertainties and making different predictions. So I think it's try to pick some very trending words and then talk with different people and see how that would be helpful for your journey. So I hope that is helpful.
Okay, thank you. I had a question, Bora, for you, because something that I've been really impressed is your how fluent you are. Like you rarely have any filler words, which to me is very I don't know. It's very interesting. Just because you were not born here, so you had to learn the language. So not only is English not your first language, but you're so proficient and fluent that you have no filler words at all. Like, is that something that you trained? Like because you want to do journalism, or was that something that you always had as a skill and you just are utilizing it? Because I always tell our members at SAPS here that every time we need a reel or we need someone to read a message, I'm like, yeah, we have to have Bora read it because she's very good at like she has that like very textbook journalism. You know, when you hear about reporters, my mind always goes to like how you speak, the cadence of your voice, but also like how you deliver the message. It's really very it's amazing and it's a skill. So I want to ask you, is this something you developed or something you were born with?
Thank you so much, Ray. Like that is the best compliment. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Actually, it's interesting because when I moved to the US, I was 10 years old, so I was quite young. However, I didn't know how to speak English at all, so I had to learn English in school. I had to do English for second language, and I was bullied about it a lot. I didn't know nothing. Like I was completely out. However, I really brought it upon myself. I'm gonna learn. I'm not gonna worry about anything else. So I became very dedicated to it and learned English as fast as I possibly could. However, I didn't really practice it with being a journalist or had any guidelines in mind. However, when I got into university and decided to do journalism, of course, now we have courses where we get to practice in front of the camera and we have to give lots of presentations, do interviews with people. So for me, it's just practice and doing it. However, I don't really do it with the intention in mind that I have to say this and don't say that. Actually, I do have to say this though. I used to say the word like a lot, and when I was first learning, so that was something I tried to eliminate a little bit from my vocabulary. However, when I went into journalism in university is where I decided to be more mindful of what I'm saying, but nothing specific. I just love learning languages. I love just being fully immersed into different cultures. So I think that might have helped a little bit, but thank you again so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And then there's a question in the chat as well here. I'm gonna read it out loud for you guys. It says, "Hi, Dr. Pasha and Tringa. I'm Lina. I'm a first-year medical student that is very interested in medical machines and integrating AI into medicine. I was wondering, with how fast AI and machine learning are advancing, do you think there could be a future where medical machines might actually diagnose patients better than doctors? And if so, could this technology eventually replace some jobs in the medical field?" That's a very interesting question. That's a very nuanced
I
question.
really love this question, Ray, because I actually wanted, so you gave me this chance to probably add something on the questions or something that we wanted to discuss today. But because I was super busy, and then I only decided to read everything later, a little bit later. So I was out of the deadline. So I was really hoping that this question comes up. So I do research, and when I mean, the AI and technological advancements are really empowered by research and how powerful the algorithms that we develop are and how fast we can process the information. So I think I've read a lot about this, that the technology will be in such a way that many people will lose a job, or what Lina is asking, that probably the machines could be could diagnose people better than doctors. I'm a little bit skeptical about this, and this, I mean, there are different opinions, and I think it's okay to have different opinions, but so I mean, nowadays, for instance, there are so many great things happening out there, but I think that building those machines to be able to substitute the human brain and the logic and everything that us humans have, it would be a very big advancement that I do not see in the near future, or at least in the next several years, and this is. I mean, I truly believe in the technological advancements and everything, but whatever it takes computationally to be able to process the data very quickly and have a lot of accuracy. So, for instance, the way that this works is that if you change one small parameters on those models that you are running, it takes forever, for instance, to train and to make predictions. And then if you want very accurate models, for instance, if you want to build, as I gave this example of building a digital twin, it would be somehow hard and it would cost a lot. So, and sometimes also researchers and people who are developing this technology and these machines, you want to put in a scale and you want to decide. So do you have enough resources and do you have enough, let's say, money to support all these advances, to run all these very giant and very expensive models? So I strongly believe that technological advancements are making our life better, but I'm not sure, I mean, how easy and how quick it will be that, for instance, those we can trust those models and what they are predicting would be, for instance, better than what a human can do. So that's what I think basically about this topic.
I don't think that artificial intelligence will ever have the power to replace us. So I don't think that people should be worried about that, because people started to worry about machine learning only when ChatGPT came out, because it is generative AI, and they were like astonished on how something can produce like all we want with just a simple prompt. But machine learning has existed for a very long time, and we just didn't know that it was machine learning. So it won't ever replace us. It won't replace us because, as Dr. Pasha mentioned very clearly and very beautifully, is that AI requires a lot of data. And if we don't possess this data, we are not going to have the results that we aim to do. And I don't think that there will be, because when we are talking especially about medicine, there are a lot of like human factors that we need to consider when we are talking about this kind of stuff, especially for diagnosis, because let's say when I go to the doctor, I may not know something very good, like I may not intentionally, but like lie in a sort of way, but that I don't know that I'm lying because I don't know the medical stuff very well. So there are a lot of other factors that we do not consider when we talk about machine learning and AI and stuff, especially when it comes to how much money and how much power it requires to make that result and that prediction that we are always talking about. And I don't think it will ever be able to replace us, at least not in the near future. So if it replaces us, we'll probably not be alive by then. So don't worry about that.
Yes, I wanted to also add something just to jump in, because I during my gap year I worked in a clinic, and they did a lot of X-rays. So they had already implemented AI when it comes to interpreting X-rays. So they've implemented AI in interpreting X-rays to see if there's a fracture or anything like that. But of course, like a physician will have to sign off after the AI does the initial reading, I think. And then this is very interesting as a topic because it reminds me of Jurassic Park. A lot of people think about Jurassic Park as the dinosaurs, but the theme is actually like, just because we can do something, should we? And just because we can bring back dinosaurs, should we do it? Like, is the risk worth the reward? And I think that with medicine and AI, just because we can use AI to replace the human element, should we do it? I think that's an interesting question, because the problems that arise, like Tringa mentioned, sometimes when you diagnose and treat is not only about, the assessment and planning, but also you have to think about finance, the emotional state of the patient, like the trust level, and then what you input, like Tringa mentioned, will change drastically what the output is. So if they're not telling you the full story and not opening up, there's a lot of room for error. So, but I'm not an expert. I have to like say that allegedly.
But yeah, Ray, that's like a very good thing that you mentioned. Even if AI is able to replace us, should we let it to replace that? I think that no, but I'm not sure if we can stop it if we become to that point. But as we mentioned before, I don't think that it will come to that point. But if it comes, it will be best to be stopped before we get to the point that artificial intelligence will replace us.
And we probably have time for maybe one more question, and then we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. Okay, I'm gonna wait a couple seconds. As I remember when we did the intro meeting with all guest speakers, where I was first introducing the idea about the webinar, I was like, oh, we have 30 minutes, but I'm going to use all my 30 minutes because if you guys don't know, A, I love talking, and then B, I love learning about people's stories. And I think there's so much um, power into like just hearing someone's story, because when we go back about why we're doing all this, we began as like college students who didn't know one another from all over the US. And like one of the main things is that sometimes all you need is like a word of encouragement, and all you need is to see that someone else is doing it. And I remember, Dr. Pasha, we had a conversation in our networking summit event in DC, where you shared that, when you think about mentorship, it's not only high school students and it's not only college students, but sometimes it's also elementary or kindergarten students who just see a role model, who see someone like they look up and they're like, oh my God, yes, they exist. Like she or he is my role model that I want to follow. So that's the thing that I think is undervalued in our community. This powerful effect that mentorship can have. And I like talking just so like people could like understand not only like tips and tricks to like pursue a career in all the fields that you guys are pursuing, but also more so they could use you as a role model. Because I truly believe, like, I for once like really enjoyed the conversation today because I think it was so unique. Like everyone is from a different walk of life, but all of you share the same story. And then if you delve deeper, the off script but on purpose, it's a theme that like everyone in life has, because we're not all played the right cards. It's like how do we utilize the cards that we're dealt in life and make it work. I do have a comment here. Okay, it's just a general comment. Um, but I want to allow, is anyone willing to ask a question? Or if not, then we can move on.
I only can add a comment, Ray. So I have a daughter. She's 9 years old. She turned 9 2 days ago, and she really loves doing this mentoring and building clubs and all of that. So I should put her in contact with Tringa. So I'm also inspired from Tringa and from Bora as well. So from the kind of work they do. So basically, she has started some kind of a little club that she calls, and there is some Albanian name on it about empowering, I don't know, kindergarten students. So that was the reason why I mentioned this when we met in DC. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, and also for the very inspiring stories.
I would love to get in contact with your daughter and learn more about her club. And also, happy birthday to her. I wish her all the success and be more like you as she can be, because you are truly an inspiration.
Thank you so much.
This was also sweet, and this has also been such a thoughtful and energizing conversation. Before we close, though, I do want to thank our speakers, Dr. Pasha, Tringa, and Bora, for sharing their stories and reminding us of what's possible when we lead with purpose. And I think we talked a lot about mentorship as well, and I think the beauty of mentorship is that it can be both a formal and informal relationship.
And then I just want to throw this out there that this webinar series is a continuum. So it's meant to continue like throughout the coming months. So it's not just a one-time event, because that's where the beauty of networking comes, when you have this ongoing and like conversations from a different perspective. So for May, we have 2 webinars that we've prepared. The first one is on May 17th. It's going to discuss about contributing to open source software. And then on May 31st, we have insights into the dental profession, career paths, challenges, and success strategies. So we invite everyone to join us live. Make sure you stay connected. This recording will be posted on our YouTube channel. So if you didn't have a chance to stay for the whole thing, or you want to watch it later, you'll have a chance to listen to this, watch it if you are using YouTube, and then learn not only from the stories, but also learn ways you can get involved with our organization at large. And to stay connected, I want to allow Clea to talk more how you guys can do that.
Yeah, so you can stay connected with us on our social medias. We have Instagram and LinkedIn, both Shoqata SAPS. Also our website if you'd like to see our past events as well as future events, and all the work that we've done with mentorship and any other initiatives that we work on, as well as the GroupMe if you'd like a space to connect with other students. There's over 100 people now in that group chat, and we use it more. It's like a community building platform, as well as I do want to draw your attention to the bottom 2 QR codes. So the one on the left, that is our feedback form for if there's other topics, themes, subjects that you like us to work on and to explore, and as well as any potential future speakers that you want us to invite, and anything that we can do better. I think that the beauty of this is also improving as we go along. And then the one on the bottom right is our interest form if you want to be a part of our community, and also connect with us as well.
Yeah, and Clea, if we could go back to the meet our team slide, I want to shout everyone out as well one last time, because this is very important to me, because I've really been involved with this group of people for the past months, since, I don't know, March, I think. And what we do is like we meet every week and we share ideas, and we really put a lot of effort and thought into what discussions that we want to bring forward. So I want to again shout out Dafina, Adem, Eralda, Irena, Diana, Clea, and Jenny. They're really the backbone of the initiative. Without their work, nothing would be possible. Again, like connecting with people and sharing the story is one thing, but we really are very intentional who we invite. So I really appreciate everyone who's part of the team. We're gonna continue these conversations in the months to come and continue to be great, and then look forward for our next webinar about open source software. It will be on May 17th. All right.
You guys.